Linda Lela, and of course, we're still here holding court with Honorable Moses Masika Wetangula, and we want to delve deeper right now on a raft of issues regarding legislative affairs, also his political career and trajectory, the upcoming 2027 elections, and also the Millennium Nations politics as well. But first of all, I'll be remiss if I don't try and pacify you for your loss of, the game on Sunday. You are an avid Arsenal fan.
Absolutely.
Some whippy teary moments here, some Kleenex for you to wipe your tears.
Yes, it was a terrible loss.
It was a terrible loss.
Yes, but we are still on top of the table, and we are still going to win the league.
And tonight there is a game also for you to redeem yourself as well.
From Kazakhstan at 11. And I'll be at hand to watch.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yes. Okay, let's just get this interview out of your way so that you may go and glue your eyes on the tournament as well. All right. First of all, let me just begin from where we are at here in Naivasha, because you must have really dampened the mood of the members of parliament here by bringing to their attention that half of them in 2027 might not likely return to the National Assembly.
Actually, you guys in the media picked the information and twisted it wrongly. I did not tell members that half will not come back. I told members that there is an actuarial assessment and report that indicates that in successive parliaments, just about half of the members come back. And that this particular parliament, in the next elections, they project that 56% may not come back. So I was relaying a report from a scientific research by actuaries, not by me.
All right. So that is the 56%, which is the attrition of...
It's an actuarial report on the attrition rate.
Attrition rate.
In Parliament. Remember, I've been in Parliament for quite some time.
Yes.
There was a Parliament where only 30% came back, 70% were voted out. And it does happen. In an electoral contest, you win, you lose. So I was actually energizing my members by telling them, look, they are saying 56% may not come back. Let it not be you, or you, or you, or you. Each one of you, up your game, pull up your socks, run like never before, and get ready to come back to Parliament. And I'll be happy to see them back, especially first-timers, because I keep on encouraging them that first-timers, especially my very young MPs, after you finish one term and disappear, people out there will not want to employ you. It will take you time to convince the voters that you can come back to Parliament. And if you are not planned yourself well, you can have a very miserable life. More importantly, when you are out there after one term, you are not pensionable. Our pension rules say that you can only earn a pension if you serve for 2 terms. So if you leave after one term, Parliament will tell you it was a pleasure meeting. Here is your contribution to the pension, which does not amount to pension, and off you go. And
you must have attained the age of 45 as well.
Yeah, even if you are pensionable, you must get to 45 to start earning your pension. So I was counseling my members, especially the young ones, that if you leave Parliament after one term, those are 5 thrown-away years in your life. If you do 2 terms, then even if you mark time up to 45, you know there'll be something to fall back to. Yes.
It's good that you've clarified that. All right, let's just drill deeper and talk about what has been in the public domain, because recently you were among the 28 people who recorded statements with the Homicide Investigation Bureau over the death of Honorable Cyrus Jirongo.
I took great exception to the sensationalization of this issue by the Standard newspaper and its group. If you looked at that newspaper story, the headline and the story inside had no relationship whatsoever. When Cyrus Jirongo, my very close friend, who was always in my company wherever he had time, died. And he died on the night when he had come to see me in Karen, where I live. After I got the news of his death, I personally called the DCI a day or two after, and I said, look, I was one of the last people to meet Cyrus. I met him at 8:30 and left him at 9:30 to go home to prepare to go to Barra, Member of Parliament. So I would want to give you a statement myself so that you can be able to then trace his movement from there and see how he met his death. The DCI, when he made a briefing to the nation, he said the Speaker of the National Assembly volunteered a statement on Jirongo's issue. And that is exactly what I did. What did the Standard do? Sensationalized a headline. It's like I had been summoned and questioned and interrogated and so on. Total hogwash. Because nobody interrogated me. I wrote a statement on my own volition with Redman Malala, with whom we sat with Jirongo, and several other people who wrote statements along the way. They gave the list. Why didn't the Standard say, I wrote a statement, Khanir wrote a statement, Malala wrote a statement, Mrs. Khanir wrote a statement, and so on? Why pick on me other than malice? And I see serious malice accentuated by forces that I do not know, but it doesn't take rocket science to know, to do these kind of things. And I have instructed my lawyers to take up the matter, because what the Standard did was to paint me in the face of the public like I was a suspect in Jirongo's issue, when in fact the DCI had told the country that they have closed the matter. Jirongo died in an accident. That is up to them. What I know is I sat with Jirongo 8:30 on 12th of December up to 9:30, left him, went home. The next morning, my son told me he had seen news that Jirongo had died. Yes.
So who made a call for this meeting? Was it you or it was Cyrus Jirongo?
Cyrus called me.
Okay.
And we call each other many times. He called me when I was in Uganda, when I was having games. When I came back, we talked to each other. We talked so many times that you have to go to call logs to know who called first. And he came to meet me. Yes.
So, and from your own accurate appraisement, would you paint for us a picture of what was his demeanor in this last meeting that we had with him?
I am not a judge of people's demeanor. I met Jirongo so often.
But you get along famously with, used to get along famously with Cyrus Jirongo, so you
That's
could tell
what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
That when I met him, I didn't say anything unusual.
Okay.
We didn't discuss anything unusual. He was talking about his businesses. I told him I've lost a member of parliament. I want to go to Mazeras. He told me a few things that are personal to him, that are not for public consumption. And we had 1 or 2 drinks and I left him. Yes.
Okay, so because we had also, I think one of the legislators saying, you know, he saw you, he's been seeing Cyrus Jirongo coming to see you.
It is not one of the legislators. It's Khalwale who alleged at the funeral that he has seen Jirongo coming to my office regularly, which is consistent with the fact that Jirongo was my friend. He can't have been coming to my office if he wasn't my friend. And Khalwale's weird question is, for me to tell him what we used to discuss with Jirongo. Do I owe him any duty to tell him what I discussed with my friends? And his complaint is that he, from his office, he could see Jirongo coming to my office. Why wasn't Jirongo going to his office? That is only him to answer, not me.
All right, given your exalted position, you know, you're wondering why maybe they're picking up on you. Of course, you're the third most powerful man in this country. So this is just going with the territory that they will want to see you, you know, giving this particular statement, and everyone will be training their eyes to see how that really pans out. But we have also political commentators contending that submitting to questioning by the investigator undermined the institutional sanctity of the Speaker's role.
That, what you are referring to, was written by one Barak Muluk.
Yes, indeed.
who was my airmate at the university.
Yes.
And he did it maliciously. And I called him and told him, Barack, you can't pick a falsehood from a fake headline and make it a basis of writing a commentary. Because if you read the headline and the story, you would not have written what you are writing. And the story ends there. Yes.
All right, let's leave it at that because I think that is still an ongoing investigation.
You know, Kenyans have immense degrees of malice that nobody understands. People just wake up, say things without caring, whether they're hurting reputations or not, whether they're ruining reputations or not. But being in public life, I'm used to this. It doesn't really worry me. What is important is my conscience. Was Jirongo my friend? Yes. Did his family know this? His wives know how close he was to me. My family knows how he was close to me. He comes to my house, was going to his house. He called me for a meeting. I met him. Unfortunately, that appears to be the day the Almighty had set for him to depart. He departed. I felt bad. I still feel bad. I felt a sense of loss. I will continue feeling the sense of loss because when you lose somebody close to you, it hits you. You feel the gap. And I'm feeling that gap. Let his soul rest in peace.
Indeed. So you still also giving that promissory note that you'll be the legal representative of the family?
In what way?
Because on the funeral you say, of course, in any
I said
legal
if
advisory.
They need any legal advice.
Advisory, yes.
I'll be available.
You'll be okay.
A lawyer, a doctor is something personal. If the family asks me to help them in any way, I will help them.
Okay.
If they don't, then equity does not help volunteers.
Thank you. Okay, let's come to now the National Assembly. And we begin, first of all, with a very ticklish issue that has been there in the public domain regarding your position as the Speaker of the National Assembly and still holding, your party, Ford Kenya. This has been in the courts. I think there's an application which is really coming up. We don't have the definitive date as well regarding this. People have been questioning you're fraternizing with other parties, first of all, right? You as the Speaker of the National Assembly. Yet we expect you to be an habit of sobriety and balance when you sit on that particular seat of the National Assembly as a Speaker.
Yes.
So the question we want to just get clarity is, first of all, why are you still holding on to the Ford Kenya party? Your predecessors previously, they've always given the mantle to other party leaders so that they will be neutral.
Who are those? Has there been elected any speaker who was a party leader in the history of Kenya?
Francis, no, not even one. No, not even one.
But let's go back to where you started.
Yes, please.
If you talk to my members of parliament, 349 of them, I can assure you they'll tell you how balanced the speaker I am, how unbiased the speaker I am, how they love and enjoy my leadership in the House, how objectively I lead them in debates in the House, how objectively I guide and counsel them, and so on and so forth. I have got no conflict in my mind whatsoever, howsoever, in the discharge of my responsibility as the Speaker. To begin with, if you read the Constitution and the Political Parties Act, it says public officers cannot hold positions in political parties except elected leaders. Who are the elected leaders? The president is elected. The deputy president is elected alongside the president. The Speaker of the National Assembly is elected. The Speaker of the Senate is elected, and the Speaker of the Senate is the leader of a party called PAR. Members of Parliament are elected. Number 3, it is not strange that a Speaker of the House, elected politically within the context of party politics, can be frowned upon if he led a political party. If you go to America, which you guys like quoting, the Speaker of the Senate of America is the Vice President of America. DJ Vance is the Speaker of the Senate of America. He's as Republican as Republicans come. He does not sit regularly. That's why the actual Speaker who sits regularly is called Speaker Tempore. Mm-hmm. Tempore means temporary. He sits there because Vance is not there. When Vance comes, he chairs the session. Look at our jurisdictions around here. Uganda. Mm-hmm. The Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda is the deputy party leader of NRM. Mm-hmm. The Speaker of Tanzania sits in the high command of CCM. Mm-hmm. And I can give you many examples. That notwithstanding, I was elected immediately after I had been elected as the leader, re-elected as the Speaker as the leader of Fort Kenya. At an appropriate moment, I will hand over the mantle to somebody else. The party belongs to its members. If members say, continue leading us, I oblige them. And that's what I have done. And it has not conflicted with anything.
Right, but we hold your view against the plumb line of the Constitution, right? There is also the substance of the Constitution, and there is the spirit of the Constitution.
Where is the breach of the Constitution in fact or in spirit? Mm-hmm. Where?
Well, in spirit, you cannot really, in spirit is amorphous, yeah? So we cannot really say this is actually, but you know what I'm really talking about. Yeah. If it is not expressly there in the Constitution, as many other, as many other subjects are not expressly in the Constitution, so also will be this, because at the end of the day, politics is all about perception. Right? It is all about perception.
For me to be Speaker, I'm sponsored by either a party or a coalition of parties in the House. The conditions upon which one merits to be Speaker are spelled out. I met those conditions. I was elected. I ran against a member, a non-member who was sponsored by a political coalition. My brother Marende was sponsored by the Azimio coalition. I don't know if he holds any position in there, but that is up to that coalition. I was elected. It was never a condition, president or post facto, that the leadership of a party is an issue, and it has not been an issue.
Okay.
I have not been in any way clouded in my judgment, my pronouncements on the chair, on the leadership of business of the House, because I belong to Fort Kenya. Mm-hmm. It's a non-issue.
Non-issue, so you are an even kilter, okay, when it comes to that. Right. There is this, should I say, I don't want to really call it assumption, or perception of the National Assembly being the lapdog of the executive, that they don't have their own head, they just respond to the whims and the wishes of the executive. What would you say to this particular perception and your watch?
In the political arena, and I've been in Parliament since 1992, in the political arena, every time a party or a group or an individual loses, they cast aspersions on the winners. I have sat in that parliament in the draconian days of Kano in 1992. Kenya has had a very, very strong parliamentary democracy. Members of parliament are elected. Members of parliament debate. They legislate. They oversight. They represent people who elected them. I can tell you for free and without any fear of contradiction, since I was elected Speaker in September 2022, nobody, and I mean nobody, not even the president, has ever called me a speaker to encourage me or cajole me or in any way try to influence me on how to run the House. And if any such call came, I will not accept it. 2, we have had the highs and lows of Parliament. When I came in as Speaker, there was a very tense moment between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. But I balanced their interests to a level where they started sitting together, talking to one another, and discharging parliamentary work. 3, the Speaker of Parliament does not initiate business in the House, does not debate business in the House, does not vote on any business in the House. Under the old constitution, the Speaker of Parliament had a casting vote where there was a tie on any vote. And in many situations, good sense tells you that where there is a tie, the Speaker will cast his vote in the negative, not in the positive. We've never had such a situation here. This Parliament that you're casting aspersions on has acted admirably in passing legislation, particularly legislation on matters health, on matters economy, on matters infrastructure, on matters environment, on matters education, and there's a whole raft of legislative proposals brought by individual members and the government that goes through the mill as it should. Members file amendments to those proposals, they vote on them, they go through, and any Kenyan who is aggrieved goes to challenge those laws in the High Court. And they have done so. Some they have won, some they haven't. Some have won at the High Court. It has been overturned at the Court of Appeal.
Thank you, thank you.
So
Maybe,
to say
yes,
that this Parliament is a lucky or a puppy,
lackluster,
or whatever word you want to say, I can give you 10 words in a row. It's not true.
But I have it on good authority that you as a speaker as well, you have been interfering with the flow of debate on the floor of the House, especially when it comes to the standing orders, Article 95, put the question when they're actually, rising on point of order and they want to express themselves that the Speaker has not been giving and letting everyone, share their opinion, especially on very crucial bills as well.
Such as?
Well, I can't just tell off the bat right now.
I want to be factual.
Yes.
I don't want to debate with you on matters of innuendo, rumor, and falsehood. As Speaker, I sit there and debate is called. The standing orders say any matter in the House is resolved on a vote. If debate is going on and the sponsor of the bill or any party for that matter feels that there has been sufficient debate, we need to go to the next business and says, call the mover to reply. The Speaker cannot just say, mover, reply. You put it to the House to make a decision. Is that what you want? Let me put the question, that the mover be called upon to reply. As members of that opinion say aye. If they carry the day, you allow the mover to reply. If they don't, debate goes on. And the Hansard will bear us out that in many ways, this is what happens. Secondly, as Speaker of the House, unless it's a very critical bill like the finance bill, I have members of my panel who assist me, the Deputy Speaker and 6 others. I also give them responsibility and opportunity to preside over debates in the House. But when they are doing so, I sit in my chamber and watch what is going on. There is not a single day or a single occasion that what you have alleged has ever happened. So whoever has filed that question to you has reasons for doing so, but the answer is simple, no. We have never curtailed debate. Members encourage debate or curtail debate, not the Speaker.
Fantastic. Let's move on and we look at the breach of Parliament recently with the Gen Z protest as well, the lowest moment that we've ever had in this country that we saw. And you were also in the House. You got intelligence about what was really happening. You described this incident as your toughest test, having previously served various capacities in the National Assembly and the Senate. It nearly really cost your life. Yes. Will you just describe for us that particular moment that you saw, how ephemeral was it, and the brevity of life that really passed in front of your eyes?
I have said over and over on this matter, so I'm just regurgitating what I have said before. This was a day we were debating the finance bill. There have been a flurry of messages and threats on social media. I have reason to believe that the young Kenyans who are legitimately and genuinely demonstrating against what they felt was their exclusion from the affairs of state and misinformed by the issue of taxation, were demonstrating, and every Kenyan has the right to come and picket at Parliament and present a petition to Parliament to deal with any issue. That's what I thought would happen. As it turned out, the movement by these young people, because some of my members of Parliament have told me even their own children were in this demonstration, some out of excitement, some out of genuine feeling that something needs to be done. But mark you, at the time this was happening, the finance bill that they were demonstrating against was not the finance bill that was being passed on the floor. It had been amended to the extent that everything the public was angry about had been weeded out.
Okay.
But back to the issue, I'm on the chair, my clerk comes and keeps on briefing me. There are riots going on around Haile Selassie, the riots around Railway Roundabout, the riots from the university side, the riots from Koinange Street and so on. Then at some point, my clerk comes and says, we have been told we should adjourn and leave. In my career and my life, I am not a coward. I'm not a fearful person. And I believed that Parliament is sacrosanct, is a place that is hallowed, so to speak, like in the Bible, and that whatever goes on out there will not come to Parliament. But when my clerk persisted that we must adjourn and leave, I adjourned the House. And what I said that is a day never to remember. I leave the House, go to my chamber, I change, and my security tells me, let's move to Bunge Tower, because what has ended Parliament is not the Gen Z youths that we are talking about. It's a mix of youths and hardened street characters who have come into Parliament with a different motive. And if you want to see what happened, I do not believe that our young children of that time would have come to set Parliament on fire, would have come with crude weapons to smash anything in sight. Because if you followed what happened, they smashed electronic equipment, furniture, looted food. I don't think those children would have looted food. Looted food, both cooked food they ate, fresh food they carried away, and so on and so forth. But more importantly, when I left the chamber, within 10 minutes, some character was sitting on the speaker's chair. And when he was caught up by security, he was found carrying 2 spring knives and bottles of acid. That certainly was not a Gen Z protester. This was somebody out to do harm. And that he came all the way to sit on the speaker's chair. Perhaps if the speaker was on the chair, whether it was me or my assistant or anybody else, he probably would have harmed them. That is what I said. And if you want to know that the damage that was caused cannot have been by these children, it cost Parliament 94 million to restore the facilities in the house. Thank God we were insured, so we didn't spend a single shilling from the taxpayer. But our insurance paid 94 million to restore furniture, to restore brick and mortar, to restore electronic equipment, and many things. But I can assure you, the mess was never touched, was never stolen, because I suspect that's your next question.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, now that you've raised it, let me move on and ask you,
Yes.
in any way, because history now will bear you down as one of the speakers who, you know, there's this ignominy in history about the Gen Z and also the lives that were lost during that.
I don't think it's ignominious. I don't think it's ignominious. I think let's not belittle our children's consciousness. They probably did the right thing wrongly and were infiltrated by wrong characters who gave a bad name to a very noble cause.
So from your own assessment, do you think the excessive use of force by the security officers was justified within the presence of the National Assembly?
That question can be asked to the police. I'm not a policeman.
I'm asking you as now a Kenyan. Forget about you being as a Kenyan. And who is a father of children?
Which is part of our law. There is a doctrine of defense of the castle. The policemen who are out there, in my view, exercised extreme restraint, because I saw clips and pictures later. But the use of fatal force is also unjustified, to the extent that the law requires that when you want to deal in a riotous situation, you disarm and disable. But lives were lost. We all regretted. I had a session where members spoke to this. And I believe the matter is still under the ambit of law enforcement and agencies that deal with administration of justice. And I want to leave them to follow up. A policeman who uses unreasonable force and causes death is not different from any other criminal. The circumstances must be qualified. If a policeman uses force in defense of a greater good, that's why in criminal law we have got murder and manslaughter.
Thank you, thank you. All right, I just wanted to maybe just finish up on it briefly, because you mentioned, you know, the finance bill, a lot of it that was contentious was weeded out. But do you think it really came a tad late? And from your own assessment as well, do you think the current administration, the center is speaking to the periphery?
The problem we had at that time, in my view, was mismanagement of information flow, allowing fake news to take center stage,
okay,
allowing disinformation to run ahead of information, allowing falsehoods to overrun truth. For example, these Gen Z young people were demonstrating that there was taxation on bread. There was nothing like that. And many other things that they said, they had all been removed from the bill through public participation. Mm-hmm. And in moving the bill, the member for Molo, who suffered heavily out of that incident because his home was attacked, his property was destroyed, had told the country and Parliament very clearly what was and wasn't in the bill. Mm-hmm. And if you want to know that at that time, the militating factors and the intended consequences cannot have been about the finance bill. Because subsequent thereto, John Badi came in as Minister for Finance, or Cabinet Secretary for Finance. And he brought back through different legislative proposals everything that was contentious in that finance bill. Of course, things that had been removed were removed, things that were left were all brought back after the President had declined to assent to the bill. The bill came back through various forms, and nobody, and I mean nobody, mm-hmm. went to the streets or raised a finger.
Thank you.
And it is now operational as law.
We still have the abductions, the killings, the torture that continues apace since then. Many families we've seen, they are not aware of where their loved ones are until now. Reparations, of course, the conversation is still ongoing, despite the fact that we have, the matters in the court as well. But from where you sit, mm-hmm. I wonder what you will have to say regarding the abductions, the murders that is ongoing currently in the government that you are associated with.
Be fair to the nation. Ask about the many bodies in Yala River, the many bodies in Doña Sabuk, the bodies that were found in Savo.
I'm particularly intent on what is happening.
Hold on.
Yes.
No, I'm not a robot. We have to answer questions systematically. We have to have some asymmetry. This country has had challenges since independence. Extrajudicial killings, Tomboya, Kung Karumba, J.M. Kariuki, Mugabe Were, Tieno Mbai, and many others. When President Ruto came into office, because we are talking of the government that I'm associated with, I'm the speaker because I was sponsored by the Kenya Kwanza leadership in the House. In his acceptance speech at Kasarani, he said he was going to deal firmly with acts of lawlessness, including but not limited to abductions, renditions, and incarceration of innocent Kenyans without due process. In furtherance of that promise, he set up a team led by Professor Makau Mutua to look into and advise on reparations for victims of these transgressions. This has never been done by any successive regimes since independence. Any abductions, I condemn. But not justified.
But that is not entirely true. We are the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission that sought to also address...
What came out of it?
Of course, the political will to implement this is not there.
That is why
so that was a first attempt.
Now there is the political will to set up a committee, not just to gather facts and write lengthy reports and present before camera and take them to the shelves to gather dust. The president has set up a committee with clear guidelines that those aggrieved will be compensated.
Thank you.
Their families, those who lost their loved ones. It may not be enough, but it's something positive. Going to the future, every leader, every citizen must frown at and condemn any judicial killings, any unlawful abductions. The police have the right to lawfully arrest you or anybody else and make it known and take you to court within the prescribed time within the Constitution. But to abduct somebody, lock you up, incommunicado, is something as a lawyer and as a citizen of this country cannot countenance, if that's what you wanted to hear.
All right. Okay, let's start the crack now to matters politics. And first of all, I want to hear what is your sense of the political tone and tenor in the country right now? Given what is happening, we see the tear gassing in the church, the vitriol verbalizing that is ongoing. You as a speaker, and you're watching this, and the third powerful man in this country, what would you want to tell Kenyans of our nature of, and the brand of our politics?
Kenya's politics is a very complex story. Since multipartyism came back to Kenya in 1992, we have had very violent situations characterizing our politics. You remember the so-called tribal clashes of 1992-93. 97 we had clashes, Molo, Kapkangani, all those areas. 2002, we had a feel-good mood in the country. Everybody felt that Mzee Moi had done his bit, 24 years. He was leaving, he was not going to be on the ballot. There was no defense of the status quo. The field was filled with new contestants. We had a landslide victory with Mzee Kibaki. Kenyans had a very, very positive attitude and feeling and disposition. We were even classified as the most hopeful people in the world at that time. Came 2007, the same Mzee Kibaki who had won with a landslide, he had a very bitter contest with Mzee Raila. The country nearly broke into pieces. I was then your foreign minister. I brought in Kofi Annan and group. We restored sanity, but the scars of the political misconduct by politicians of the time remains part of our history. 2013, 2017, we had contestations that were also characterized by bits and pieces of fractures, peace, security breaches, bit of violence, and so on and so forth. So what's happening today is not any different from what has happened before. But to come to your point and question, an attack on a house of worship is unacceptable by anybody, whether you are a believer in the Christian faith or Islamic faith or an unbeliever. Places of worship are hallowed places and must be respected. And I want to appreciate the Interior Minister was among the first to condemn the incident, meaning the government is not in approval of what happened in that church. What we want to see is followed with proper, thorough, open investigations, anybody found culpable to be brought to book. As a consequence of what you are saying, that we know we are going to elections, a bit of tensions here and there, violent arguments going on, and the parties now are on free fall on everything. In this retreat we have here, I've invited the Minister for Interior to come before members of Parliament tomorrow and field questions on the security situation in the country.
Okay.
To give an assurance to Kenyans that he holds a constitutional office with constitutional responsibility. He is responsible for the police and other agencies of security, and that he will do everything within his capacity to ensure our country enjoys peace, our country enjoys security, and the politicians contesting for whatever seat are free and available to go around to sell their agenda, to sell their vision, to sell their dreams to Kenyans. And at the end of the day, Kenyans will decide to vote for whoever they want at whatever level, from MCA to the presidency.
All right, talking of MCA, we must also talk about the recent by-election we had in Chwele, and we had also your candidate losing to an independent, and people were putting very high stakes on this, that this will be the make or break of Moses Masika Wetangula. Is Moses Masika Wetangula's political capital tapering off in the western region of his country? Do you think you still have the heavy political...
Are you telling me that my 30-plus years career in politics was built on a seat of an MCA? Is that what you are trying to tell me? I've been in Parliament from 1992. Elected over and over and over. Are you telling me that my entire political career...
1992, you were nominated.
I was nominated. Nomination under the Constitution is an election. You're not aware of that?
I am aware.
Yes. A nominated member is an elected member. And from 1992, I've walked this journey. You can't be telling me that my political career and life is predicated on a seat of an MCA. That is preposterous.
Right, but you have...
An election was held in Chwele Kabuchai. The candidate of Fort Kenya did not win for reasons that now as a party we know. And the person who won was not from any party, was an independent. He was in fact a contestant for nomination in our party. But those who engineered the picking of a candidate picked somebody else. And when Wananchi elected the independent candidate, my people have come to see me in hordes and told me why they elected the independent against the candidate who was put by the party. And I understand and appreciate them. I'm with them every other day, that the people upon whose strength I am.
Right, but Panis also allude to your survival politically to proximity to power. They say is a system, the system's person. So this is what has actually kept you afloat over the years as well. So I don't know what you have to say regarding this particular...
Do you live in Kenya?
I do live in Kenya, but this is
if
what...
If you live in
yes,
Kenya,
I do.
You know, I was the foreign minister up to the end of Kibaki's term. The last 8 months, I went to trade. We went to elections in 2013. I left the government side and teamed up with Raila Odinga. As Fort Kenya, ODM, we had Azimio. Not Azimio, sorry, CORD. We went to elections against TNA and, which was the other party? There was TNA and URP. We lost the elections. I was in the opposition. I was the leader of the House in the Senate in the opposition. We went to 2017. We went with the Mzee Raila again as NASA. We lost the election. I went to the Senate. I was in the opposition. 2022, we teamed up with President Ruto, and we won. That's 3 years ago. So you're telling me that for the 10 years I was in opposition, I was a systems man. Which system? Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I was in the opposition.
Right. Of course, you're a formidable political figurehead in Western Kenya. And we've seen also the rise of Natembeya gaining emotional capital with the populace there as well. I wonder where you see yourself in light of also Musalia Mudavadi as well, that their once bright and glorious star is being diminished by this rising figure called Natembeya with the Tawi movement.
The most important event in the calendar of a politician, in the calendar of a political party, is election time. You can only judge what you are alluding to at the next elections. And I can assure you that come next elections, things will be perfectly fine. I know that sensationalization of issues is part of media talk.
Perfectly fine in what sense?
It's perfectly fine where Musalia and I took our people, they will be. All right? The people who have grown us into politics, the members of parliament from the region, if you want to confine us to the region, because we are not confined to our region. We have tenderhooks of politics across the country.
So you want to tell me that Natembeya is not making any definitive, discernible difference in the politics of Western Kenya?
Where is the political mark that you are benchmarking?
Well, we can actually tell from the rallies that you've been on the same podium. Even Justice Cyrus Jirongo's funeral was a good testing ground to actually feel where the emotions of the people are.
Were you at Cyrus Jirongo's funeral?
I watched the entire...
Did you listen to me speak?
I did.
Did the people listen to me?
Well, there was a bit of a squeamish,
you obviously were not there. When I stood up...
I could sense that...
Listen, my dear young man. There were very exciting moments at Jirongo's funeral. And there was a lot of reckless talk from some of our politicians. When you as truly here stood to speak, there was pin drop silence. And everybody listened to what I said, without a murmur, and they listened to the end, and when I finished speaking, half the audience left to go home.
But before you ascended to the podium, there was this kerfuffle, a cacophony of, and the shuffling of feet before
of
now.
Course,
yes.
When you go to a funeral like a public place, there are some young politicians who provide comic relief to the public. They stand there and say things for people to clap, people to laugh. I don't go to anybody's funeral to be clapped for. I don't go to funerals to gain political mileage. I went to solemnly mourn a dear friend of mine who had died.
Thank you.
And I did not expect, and I would not have accepted anybody to cheer me. I went there in a somber mood to mourn my friend and his family. Sarakazi ingine is something that I have no time for and has no place in a funeral.
Thank you. Even as we're winding up, this is my last question. There is the UDA-ODM Alliance.
Yes.
And I would love to hear where you stand and how you feel about this particular alliance or a coalition that is coming up. Of course, there is a memorandum of understanding. Do you feel as the party leader of Ford Kenya lost in the shuffle? And does this also put you in a very, on the sharpest edge on the horns of dilemma on your next political move?
Far from the truth. To the contrary, as partners in Kenya Kwanza with President Ruto, whose party is UDA, we have encouraged him repeatedly to reach out to Mzee Raila. To begin with, the moment President Ruto sat with Mzee Raila and discussed and agreed that there can be a political engagement, the political temperature in the country dropped visibly, noticeably, and significantly, to the appreciation of many Kenyans. Number two, we have encouraged the president that this country needs everybody. And it will be a wonderful idea if we can have as many of the Kenyans working together, talking together, holding the destiny of this country in development matters to change Kenya for the better. We will not do that if we are fighting or quarreling or constantly arguing. That the late Raila left his party in the broad-based arrangement is something laudable. And these ongoing discussions between UDA and ODM is something laudable. It's a furtherance of what Raila himself started. As to Ford Kenya and myself, I'm already a partner of UDA. So if my partner is talking to another potential partner to come in and make us bigger, why would it worry me? It should make me happy. In politics, it's a game of numbers. When our numbers grow, we feel more comfortable, we feel more confident, we feel that we are doing something good for the country. So I encourage President Ruto, UDA party, to continue engaging ODM. Last Saturday, I was in Busia, and I called upon ODM. I said, I may not have special interest in ODM as a party, but I have the special competence as a leader in this country to encourage ODM that its members should not break apart, that its members should not betray the legacy of Raila Odinga. Because Raila Odinga in 2007, after that very violent outcome of the elections, we still sat with Mzee Kibaki and Raila and signed the National Accord and formed the Grand Coalition government, the notoriously called Nusu Mkate government. 2017, after we lost the elections, Raila Odinga still reached out to Uhuru Kenyatta. They had a handshake, and they brought the tensions in the country down. After 2022, and remember 2022 was a more hotly contested election than even 2017 or 2013. Mzee Raila didn't win, but he didn't want the country to break up. He stepped back, lowered his guard, and sat with President Ruto and talked about the country. That is the statesmanship we require. And I want to tell you, my dear young man, that in leadership, I cannot and will not sit in leadership worried about myself. That is called unacceptable selfishness in politics. I sit, wherever I sit, concerned about Kenya. That if there is a requirement at any one time, there is a calling for us to make sacrifices to take our country forward, we will be called upon to do so, and many of us can do that. So the selfishness of thinking that I, myself, and it's not there. Mm-hmm. Because if you are a person who believes that if it is not you, then there can't be anybody else, then you are not a leader. But the long and short of it is, ODM, UDA talk, I have encouraged, I support. I'm part of the rearguard support to President Ruto to ensure that we have a country united moving to the future.
Thank you. Senior Counsel Moses Masika Wetangula, the Speaker of the National Assembly, thank you for graciously consenting to be, of course, part of this conversation.
Thank you, Baba.
On TV47. We really do appreciate. Thank you. Thank you. Right, trenchant.
This is the first time I've talked to
our station.
To your station.
And we are really appreciative of it, and we hope we'll have more of this as well. Right?
Enjoy your evening.
Yeah, and we're also looking forward to having you on our radio set as well, so you can just come and talk in our studios as well.
Nashukuru sana.
Asante sana.
Am I free to leave?
Yeah, just hold on. Just hold on so that I can hand over back to the studio.
Yes.
Where my colleague Linda Lela, she's of course also been amazingly patient waiting for us to hand over back to her. And we want to thank you for the trenchant, of course, discussion and the massive articulation that we've had on a raft of issues as far as politics is concerned here in the country. There you have it, Linda, and we just want to hand over back to you so that you can give us also some bits of sports. You said Arsenal is playing. Yeah,
we're playing the next 25 minutes.
In the next 25 minutes, I think.
Against Almaty from Kazakhstan. I first visited Almaty in 1979.
Still, you're in a whippy mode, so I need to give you the Kleenex to, of course, wipe your tears as well.
I hope you are not a Man U man. The way you are talking.
I'm a Liverpool fan.
You're a Liverpool fan?
Yes, I am. Die hard.
Ah, good.
Thank you.
That
Thank you so much.
The two of us.
All right, Lina, over to you.